Hey, what's up, you guys? I decided to pop up on social media today in order to share my thoughts, and as usual, here at the gym, like y'all see, at the locker room. But hey, when a subject is really strong in my brain, then that's when I'm gonna teach about it. Okay, so today I would like to discuss the defense mechanism, deflection. Deflection happens so often in relationships that people don't even realize it. It's when someone is avoiding an uncomfortable situation. So instead of actually taking accountability or allowing themselves to be vulnerable in that moment, they redirect the attention to someone else or something else in order to protect themselves within the relationship. And it might provide very minimal emotional relief. We're talking about for a short period of time. However, it does not actually lead to resolution or resolve within the relationship if a person is constantly deflecting. Again, it's a way to not actually address what the real issue is. And so people a lot of times will try to utilize things like saying what the other person did, so pointing the finger, or sometimes it's humor, or sometimes it's like, oh, well, woe is me, and then they turn into a victim rather than seeing how they contributed to the situation. But those are forms of deflection, and it's a defense mechanism. Now, what I like to add on is that a lot of times, people deflecting as a defense mechanism is reinforced ever since they were a child, especially if that means a person becomes a good liar, like literally. And so if a person is used to telling stories in order to weasel their way out of a situation, it's most likely because they were punished for telling the truth. Now, what I'll say is that sometimes, parents will find that they have children who are extremely honest. And I actually was one of those kids. At the same time, with consideration of how I was taught and how I was reared, I was taught how to share information in a way so it's not insensitive, but then also to know when to curtail, which means to share as much as you can without sharing too much. At the same time, if people are told, no, you're gonna get in trouble if you don't tell me the truth, and then they tell the truth, and then you punish them for telling the truth, what are they gonna do? They're going to tell a story, or they're going to learn how to not ever say anything. So then to tell someone just to sit quietly, but to not teach them what to do instead, is a concern. Come on, guys. It's a matter of balance. It's not a matter of one or the other sitting quietly all the time or divulging all the information. How can the minds meet in the middle to understand different contextual situations, lead toward the importance of sharing different information? Like, when sitting at a dinner table, shouldn't discuss all of the details of what happened when you were sitting on the toilet in the bathroom, because that's context. But at the same time, if they're at the doctor's and they're having concerns with their gastrointestinal system, then they gotta talk about what's going on in their gut and what's happening in the toilet. You understand what I'm saying? It's context, you guys. But it's a matter of understanding and knowing when to divulge what information. But to punish someone for telling the truth, especially when they're speaking truth regarding their own perspective, what they feel, what's in their heart, is actually hindering the point of creating a positive, safe, emotional, and psychological environment in order to create a space for vulnerability to improve upon relationship skills. Do you understand what I'm saying? So this is the reason why I work with families, because a lot of times when parents will say, well, why aren't you more like the other sibling? Why aren't you more like the other sibling? Well, each sibling responds differently to how you communicate with them, so you can't necessarily just rear every child the same way. But at the same time, that also informs how they show up older in life. So I find myself working with adults who are still dealing with defense mechanisms that they actually had reinforced through their original family or family of origin, which is food. Family of origin, food, FOO. And so what I would suggest is consider meeting with the therapist, because, a lot of times there's a root to storytelling to people telling lies or to try to deflect to other people. I'm not trying to pathologize or demonize anyone. But there's a reason why you communicate the way you communicate. There's a reason why every time somebody, essentially puts you in the hot seat or, pulls your information on the carpet, that you want to deflect, that you want to defend, rather than just saying, you know what, I understand what you're saying, and that part is true. This part, let me explain, because this part is not necessarily as accurate as you're perceiving it, or different. I perceive it differently. But that's a matter of communication. It's not a matter of a battle, because those are relational skills. Like, how do you communicate with people when you want them to better understand you? But that's a matter of having an honest conversation. But are you comfortable enough? Are you secure enough within yourself to have an honest conversation about where you are and why you are where you are? So, that's it. Y'all have an excellent day. Happy Monday.